The first question. Before cities, before history, before humanity even knew it was human, there was a moment of hesitation. A pause in motion. A thought that went beyond instinct. In that moment, something extraordinary happened. A human asked a question. The world of early humans was brutal and unforgiving. Survival depended on speed, strength, and awareness. Predators hunted in the dark. Weather arrived without mercy. Hunger was constant. Every other creature on Earth responded to these dangers the same way, through instinct alone. But humans did something different. They wondered. Why does fire warm but also destroy? Why does the sun disappear and return? Why do some stones cut better than others? These were not philosophical questions. They were questions of survival. And yet, they marked the beginning of a transformation that would eventually build the modern world. Fire was not humanity's first discovery, but it was humanity's first teacher. Lightning may have ignited it, but curiosity kept it alive. Someone stayed close to the flames instead of running. Someone noticed that cooked food tasted different and lasted longer. Someone realized that fire scared away predators and brought people together. Fire turned night into opportunity. It extended the day, strengthened social bonds, and gave humans control over their environment. This was not instinct. It was experimentation. Tools followed the same path. A sharp stone was not enough. Humans asked whether it could be sharper, stronger, more precise. They chipped, tested, failed, and improved. Over generations, tools evolved, not because bodies changed, but because questions accumulated. Knowledge began to outlive individuals. Then came symbols. Cave paintings were not decoration. They were memory made visible. They captured hunts, animals, and movement. They preserved experience. They taught without words. Through symbols, humans began to record reality, not just react to it. Language soon followed, allowing curiosity to be shared. Questions could now travel across time. Curiosity turned groups into communities. As knowledge grew, fear no longer dictated every decision. Humans began to plan. They anticipated seasons. They followed stars. They learned patterns in nature. The sky became a map, not a mystery. The land became a resource, not a threat. And then curiosity did something even more dangerous. It pushed humans to move. Horizon lines stopped being limits. Rivers invited crossing. Mountains dared climbing. Oceans whispered possibilities. No instinct demanded these risks. Curiosity did. Humans migrated across continents, adapting to deserts, ice, forests, and seas. They carried fire, tools, language, and stories with them. Each journey was an answer to the same ancient question, what lies beyond? This urge to explore separated humanity from every other species. Animals occupy environments. Humans investigate them. But curiosity was never comfortable. It required risk. Many experiments failed. Many journeys ended in death. Yet curiosity persisted because it offered something fear could not, progress. Over time, curiosity changed how humans saw themselves. They were no longer just survivors. They were observers, pattern seekers, meaning makers. The world was no longer ruled solely by spirits and shadows. It was a system that could be understood. This shift laid the foundation for everything that followed. Agriculture emerged from observing plant cycles. Settlements formed from studying animal behavior. Social rules developed from understanding cooperation. Even early belief systems were attempts to explain the unknown. Curiosity did not eliminate mystery, it organized it. Importantly, curiosity was not owned by leaders or elites. It belonged to everyone. It lived in children asking questions, elders telling stories, hunters testing new paths. It was decentralized, unstoppable, and deeply human. The first revolution was not technological. It was mental. By the time the first villages appeared, humanity had already crossed an invisible threshold. Humans were no longer at the mercy of their environment. They were learning to shape it. Slowly, imperfectly, but deliberately. The modern world, with its cities, machines, and digital networks, can trace its origins back to that first pause in the dark. That first moment when a human chose to wonder instead of react. Curiosity did not promise safety. It promised possibility. And from that promise, everything else was built. Curiosity vs. fear. As humans moved beyond survival, curiosity faced a new challenge: civilization. With villages, cities, and empires came rules, traditions, and authority. Curiosity now had to navigate not just the dangers of nature, but the dangers of society itself. Asking the wrong question could threaten more than life. It could threaten power, faith, and order. Early civilizations rose along fertile rivers: the Nile, the Tigris and Euphrates, the Indus, and the Yellow River. People learned to grow crops, manage water, and build permanent settlements. But alongside practical skills, a deeper urge took root: the desire to understand the world. Why does the sun rise and set? Why do crops fail some years and flourish in others? Why do humans suffer from sickness or injury? These questions gave birth to mathematics, astronomy, medicine, and philosophy. In Mesopotamia, priests and scribes created the first systems of numbers and writing. In Egypt, architects observed geometry to construct the pyramids with precision that still amazes us today. In the Indus Valley, urban planning revealed remarkable knowledge of drainage, trade, and civic organization. In ancient China, scholars recorded natural laws, invented calendars, and tracked eclipses. Across the world, curiosity was quietly reshaping society. Yet with curiosity came danger. Knowledge could be threatening. Questioning sacred beliefs, challenging authority, or exposing inconsistencies could provoke fear, anger, or violence. In many societies, priests and rulers controlled information. Curiosity was often a rebellion disguised as learning. And those who dared challenge convention risked punishment, or even death. Philosophers like Socrates embraced this danger. He questioned the nature of truth, justice, and human behavior in Athens. His method was simple yet revolutionary: ask questions relentlessly. But in doing so, he upset powerful institutions. He was condemned and executed, not for ignorance, but for daring to think. Across history, countless other thinkers suffered similar fates, silenced because they asked what others feared to hear. Still, curiosity persisted. It thrived where it could be hidden, shared, or passed along. Scholars in the Islamic Golden Age, like Ibn al-Haytham, insisted that observation mattered more than belief. He studied optics, light, and vision, laying the foundations for the modern scientific method. In India, mathematicians developed the concept of zero, a simple question with revolutionary consequences: what if nothing could be counted as something? In Greece, philosophers debated the nature of the universe, laying the groundwork for reason and rational inquiry. Knowledge traveled despite boundaries. Trade routes, empires, and migrations spread ideas across continents. Curiosity became contagious, moving faster than armies and outlasting dynasties. It survived because it was not centralized. It lived in minds, not thrones. Every generation inherited it, whether rulers approved or not. Curiosity also forced humans to confront fear in new ways. Natural disasters, disease, and scarcity still posed threats, but humans no longer accepted them as mysteries or punishments. They experimented with irrigation, medicine, and construction. They recorded patterns and tested solutions. Fear became a guide, not a jailer. It warned them, but curiosity demanded action. This period of history taught a critical lesson: progress required courage. Asking a question was never neutral. Every inquiry risked conflict, exile, or death. Yet curiosity advanced civilization faster than conquest or force ever could. While empires rose and fell, the ideas inspired by human wonder endured. By the end of the ancient era, humanity had begun to see the world as something to explore and understand, not simply to endure. Curiosity had become the engine of culture. Science, mathematics, philosophy, and medicine were no longer luxuries. They were tools to survive, to thrive, and to imagine. This was the first great tension of human history: curiosity versus fear. Nature demanded respect, authority demanded obedience, and society demanded conformity. Yet curiosity refused to be contained. It shaped civilizations quietly, persistently, and invisibly. From the villages along the Nile to the streets of Athens, curiosity had become humanity's secret weapon. It questioned gods, patterns, and rules. It built knowledge that could survive wars, collapse, and time itself. And it set the stage for a new era, where curiosity would no longer be hidden in scrolls and temples, but would explode across continents, defying tradition, authority, and even reality itself. The modern world, in its essence, is the result of this struggle. Every city, every discovery, every insight traces back to moments when humans chose to wonder instead of obey. When they asked questions that others feared to ask. When curiosity triumphed over fear. It is in this crucible that the next revolution of thought, the scientific revolution, would emerge, shattering old beliefs and building the foundation of the modern age. Humanity had learned its first profound truth: curiosity always finds a way. Breaking the world open. For thousands of years, human curiosity had survived fear, tradition, and authority. It had quietly shaped civilizations, nurtured knowledge, and spread across continents. But by the Renaissance, curiosity was ready for a revolution, a moment when questions would no longer whisper in temples and libraries, but shout across the world, challenging the very foundations of what people believed about reality. The Renaissance was not just an explosion of art, literature, and culture. It was a time when humanity dared to question everything. Ancient authorities, once seen as infallible, were no longer beyond scrutiny. Scholars, artists, and scientists began asking dangerous questions. Could the Earth really be the center of the universe? What governs the motion of the stars? Are our senses reliable guides to truth? One of the first to answer these questions was Nicolaus Copernicus, who dared to suggest that the Earth revolved around the Sun. At the time, such a claim was almost heretical. Centuries of belief had taught that humans occupied the center of existence. But Copernicus trusted curiosity over tradition. He risked ridicule, and his ideas ignited debates that would shape the centuries to come. A generation later, Galileo Galilei lifted a telescope to the sky and revealed a universe that was far stranger and more complex than anyone had imagined. He discovered moons orbiting Jupiter, mountains on the moon, and imperfections in the sun itself. The heavens were no longer perfect, untouchable realms. They were physical, observable, and subject to laws. For daring to speak the truth, Galileo faced the Inquisition and was forced to recant. Yet his discoveries could not be erased, and his method of observation became the foundation of modern science. Meanwhile, Isaac Newton unified the physical world under laws of motion and gravity. With his equations, curiosity gained a language that could describe the universe. The invisible forces that guided planets, tides, and projectiles could now be understood, predicted, and applied. Curiosity had become a tool to break open the world itself. This era was dangerous because curiosity no longer sought merely survival or practical answers, it sought truth. And truth, when revealed, had power. Knowledge challenged authority, religion, and tradition. Those who asked the wrong questions risked exile, imprisonment, or death. Yet curiosity thrived because it promised something greater than safety: understanding. The scientific revolution transformed daily life as well. Medicine advanced as doctors studied the human body. Experimentation replaced blind faith. Optics, chemistry, and mechanics reshaped technology. Curiosity was no longer hidden in scrolls or monasteries. It began to power inventions, cities, and eventually industries. The Industrial Revolution followed naturally from this foundation. Machines, once imagined in sketches and theories, became engines that changed the world. Steam and coal-powered factories, locomotives, and ships. Electricity illuminated cities, while canals, roads, and railways connected them. Curiosity had turned observation into invention, and invention into civilization. Yet with every leap forward came risk. Factories poisoned rivers, smoke filled the skies, and Laboris endured harsh conditions. Nuclear physics would later promise both power and destruction. Curiosity had unlocked forces that humans had never faced before, forcing society to confront the moral weight of discovery. Even as technology advanced, curiosity kept pushing boundaries. Chemists studied atoms. Biologists studied life. Mathematicians studied infinity. Questions became more abstract, more daring. What is the nature of matter? What makes life possible? Could humans travel to other worlds? Breaking the world open was not just about new knowledge, it was about refusing to accept limits. Humanity learned that the universe was larger, stranger, and more beautiful than anyone had imagined. Every assumption could be challenged. Every tradition questioned. And every discovery, no matter how dangerous, was a step toward understanding. By the 18th and 19th centuries, curiosity was no longer a hidden virtue. It had become the engine of progress, the spark behind innovation, and the force reshaping human existence. Cities grew, nations expanded, and industries transformed daily life. Knowledge, once fragile and scattered, now guided civilization itself. But the lesson of this era was clear: curiosity is both powerful and dangerous. It can illuminate, but it can also destroy. It can create cities, machines, and medicine, but it can also create weapons, pollution, and inequality. Every question carries consequences. Every discovery demands responsibility. Yet humanity continued. Because curiosity, once unleashed, cannot be contained. It does not wait for permission. It does not fear authority or danger. And it is this relentless urge to know, to question, and to explore that would carry humanity into the modern era, shaping the world as we know it today. The Renaissance and the scientific revolution taught the world its most important lesson: curiosity is stronger than tradition. It is stronger than fear. And in breaking open the world, humanity discovered its greatest power, the power to understand, transform, and create. The question that never ends. By the 20th century, human curiosity had become unstoppable. Centuries of asking, testing, and discovering had reshaped the world. Cities thrived, machines roared, and knowledge spread faster than any empire had ever managed. Yet, even as humans mastered electricity, chemistry, and engines, the most daring questions were only beginning to emerge. The modern era is defined by curiosity that dares to ask not just how, but what if? What if we could travel beyond Earth? What if machines could think? What if life itself could be rewritten? These questions drove explorers, scientists, and inventors to boundaries no human had ever imagined. Space became a new horizon. Rockets tore through the atmosphere, carrying humans and machines into the unknown. Satellites mapped the Earth and opened communication across continents. The moon landing in 1969 was not just a technological achievement, it was the fulfillment of a question whispered for generations: could humanity leave its cradle and touch the stars? Curiosity had transformed dreams into reality. At the same time, the mysteries of life and matter were being uncovered. DNA, once invisible, was mapped and understood. Medicine advanced, diseases were eradicated, and the building blocks of life were decoded. Physicists probed the universe at scales unimaginably small and unimaginably large, discovering quantum behavior and the forces that shape existence. Computers, once bulky and slow, evolved into intelligent machines, capable of processing information faster than any human mind. Curiosity now operated at speeds and scales that defied intuition. Yet with this power came unprecedented responsibility. The same knowledge that allows life to be healed can also be used to harm. Nuclear energy illuminates cities but can also destroy them. AI can solve complex problems but can also challenge ethics, jobs, and human control. Curiosity has become a double-edged sword. It is humanity's greatest gift, and its greatest test. Even as questions grow more dangerous, curiosity remains relentless. Scientists explore black holes, consciousness, and the origins of the universe. Engineers develop machines that learn, predict, and create. Innovators imagine worlds where diseases vanish, energy is limitless, and humanity expands into space. The limits of possibility are pushed every day, not by instinct, but by imagination. This is the paradox of curiosity: it is both fearless and fragile. Fear still exists, but it no longer dominates. It warns of risk, but curiosity often ignores the warning. Authority, tradition, and limits are challenged because humans now understand that knowledge cannot be contained. Every generation inherits questions from the past and asks new ones, creating an unbroken chain of wonder and discovery. Curiosity has also reshaped society itself. The Internet connects billions, carrying questions, ideas, and discoveries instantly across the globe. Education, research, and collaboration flourish in ways ancient humans could scarcely imagine. The world is now a network of minds, all driven by the same force that once led humans to protect fire or carve stone tools. The engine has grown, but its essence remains the same: the desire to know, understand, and explore. Yet the story is unfinished. Humanity now stands at a crossroads where questions could create unimaginable progress, or equally unimaginable consequences. Ethical dilemmas, environmental crises, and technological risks test whether curiosity can be guided wisely. The power to explore, innovate, and transform has never been greater, but neither has the responsibility. The modern world exists because humans refused to stop asking questions. Every city, every invention, every discovery is the result of someone looking beyond the obvious, challenging the accepted, and daring to imagine a different future. From fire to telescopes, from engines to AI, curiosity has been the silent architect of civilization. And still, it continues. Children stare at the stars, scientists probe the atom, engineers design machines that think, and philosophers ask questions that have no easy answers. Curiosity is unending, unstoppable, and essential. It is the spark that lights progress and the force that ensures humanity never remains still. The question that began in the dark, whispered by a human wondering why, has never ended. It has grown louder, more daring, and more transformative. The modern world is its testament. Every discovery, every innovation, every leap forward exists because someone, somewhere, refused to accept the answer "I don't know" as the final word. Curiosity built the modern world. And it will continue to shape the future, because as long as humans ask questions, the story of progress will never be complete.